wired the mic this time. Let's... All right. Hey everyone, how you doing tonight? Saturday, November 23rd, 2019. And as you can see from my shirt, I went to NASA this weekend and it was pretty darn groovy. Yesterday I went on the Level 9 tour, which is the behind the scenes tour. Got to go and see the Saturn V rocket. I got to go to the Mission Control Center for both Apollo 11 as well as the International Space Station. I got to see the big submersion pool where they have mock-ups of the International Space Station underwater, and that's how they train for their EVAs. That was really cool. What else did I do yesterday? I got to see the P-38 fighter jets that they used to train on like 50 years ago. They're all retired for the most part, but they still take them out once in a while. I mean, it was just a whole lot of history, and it was absolutely amazing. Today I went back and I actually had lunch with an astronaut, with Rick Hyde. I got a autographed picture here. And he actually did not go to the moon. He went on 3 separate orbital flights to run tests, and he had a lot of stories. I've got some video of that too. I also got this neat photo because I'm a total nerd. It was total green screen, but I had to do it because, yeah, that's the closest I'm ever going to get to 0 G's. So, I'm still waiting for some of this video to convert. I had the hardest time today getting my video off of my iPhone and onto the computer. And that would be a child. What does my child say? Oh, she says, "You're on my TV." Ah, hi Savannah. So yeah, as soon as this video gets done converting, I'm going to play it for you guys. Basically, the guy who did the Level 9 tour for us yesterday, our tour guide, his name was David. I don't remember his last name, but he'd been working with NASA for about 30 years, and he says that when we hear the news and stuff, we think of like the top 10% elite people who are part of, you know, mission control, ground control, but there's about 400,000 other people who work behind the scenes to make everything work, to get that ship off the ground and into space. And he was one of those 400,000. He had lots of stories to share. He had some original photos that he took with almost all of the astronauts that have gone into space. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. So that's actually the part that I was going to add to the video here so that you guys could actually hear some of his stories. Let me add this in, open, drop in, finish video, export, mission control, 2. It's exporting right now. I've got to tweak with some of these settings so that I can actually hey. So what you're seeing now is me tweaking with some of this stuff. And I'm going to remove the next image. And I'm just waiting for this to finish compiling here. It's going to be a couple minutes, but maybe I can This is going to be kind of crappy. I do apologize. Oh, I got to go inside of a shuttle today. That was cool. They have the Discovery out there. Let me unlock the rotation. Yep. Check that action out. And I do plan on getting all of these photos and videos up to the website and some of them loaded to Facebook. So you'll be able to see all of these when I get done going through all of them. Like I said, I had issues getting it off of my phone today. So I actually had to take a trip over to the mall to the Apple store to take a look at it. Let's see, how far along are we? Oh, it's taking forever. I do apologize. I should have been ready. I should have been ready. So, Windows Media Player. And oh, hey, I can even play it in VLC. That's source. Done. Oof. No. I might be able to just add it directly to the stream. So, everything is looking and sounding great, making Adam and Kim watch with me. Hi Adam, hi Kim. And I can guarantee you that Joseph is going to be around at some point. Because he likes my live streams. And also, I am sitting here with Romeo, my sister's cat. I am visiting my sister Lisa this weekend. Her birthday was yesterday. I am not going to tell everyone how old she is because that's kind of rude. But yeah, we had pizza and presents, and now they are making a vegan cake because Lisa is vegan. I'm kind of scared to try it, but I'm going to do it anyways. Still exporting. Grr. So, let's see, do I have any other photos I can show you guys off the top of my camera? Here's the I will tell them you said hi, Savannah. But that's the ship that carries the spaceship. Let's see what else we got here. Like I said, most of my pictures I've already moved over. Yes, I will tell I will tell Aunt Lisa you said happy birthday. Oh, and here's my picture with Rick Hyde. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Here's the nose of the ship. I got up close and personal with the nose of the Discovery. Basically, after they decommissioned the Discovery, they they gutted it out and put all the displays up so that they could display it there at the Johnson Space Center. And it was really, really cool. The whole thing was cool. I pretty much nerded out the past couple of days. Did get some pictures of some moon rocks. Actual moon rocks. I got to be in the same room as moon rocks. And there's little plaques that go with them, and I will match everything up eventually. They had a huge diorama going on. So, how far are we with the... Almost, not quite. It's really goofy, but it makes me feel really special and excited when you talk to me in the live stream. Oh, well, that's because you are special, Savannah, and I don't mean special ed. They had one of the little pods there. That was rather cool. And you could see inside of it. And I took some video going through some of these too. Oh, here's some quick video that I took at the pool part. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but... And the whole time I was watching them play with this capsule inside the pool, I was humming the theme to I Dream of Jeannie. Because y'all remember I Dream of Jeannie, right? Savannah, I know you watched some of that. And I got pictures of all of the different mission badges. Gemini, Apollo 8, Apollo 13. And it turns out that they have a whole tradition of letting the crew member who has the least flight experience help guide the design process, and each team would design their own patch for each mission, and it was like a huge tradition. And basically what they would do is, like, for Challenger. So we remember that the Challenger, it did explode in January of '86, but it had Christine McAuliffe, who was a teacher, and on the badge between her name and the other astronaut's name, there was a little apple there, because you give teachers apples. So it was actually pretty cool. Almost. There we go. There we go. All right, so let's see if I can't load this up now. So you're actually going to see me disappear. I'm going to add the video source. That didn't work. All right, let's see. And Savannah says, my face disappeared. Yes, I know my face disappeared. Open file. Astronomy, Hufflepuff Observatory, videos. And I'm not getting sound again because I've got some weirdness going on. So, window capture. Toot toot. And I'm actually going to pull that up here. Savannah, I'm going to need you to text me and let me know if you get video on this or audio on this, all right? Because I'm not getting any audio on my side. It's not playing. Darn it. Because, yeah, I am riding the struggle bus here. I will figure this out eventually, though. Add ELC source. Add source. Done. Savannah, thanks for helping me out with this. I've been having all sorts of issues with the audio here. Savannah, let me know when you hear this. I'm not getting any audio. Hey, Paul. Yes, Savannah, I know that you are laggy. I wonder if it's a setting on my... Oh, that banging noise was Paul. He came in the room. All right, let's try this. Can you see it, Savannah? Yes, that's Aunt Lisa's boyfriend. Yeah, I noticed that. So I need to get the audio working. So I'm gonna just swap that over really quick while I figure out why my audio is not working. I should have audio. I'm going to be very upset. Let me...
What that we're waiting on the next one.
Alright, so I'm going to have to play these in separate files. So let me change this. Alright, so first part. No, that was me, Savannah. Mission Control. Here's the first video. Alright, Savannah?
We're waiting on the next room. We're going to go into the Apollo room. And we have a couple of minutes, so I'll talk to you about some of the Apollo missions or some of the things that went on during that time. And the best way I thought to do that is to share it with some photos. People relate better with photos than me talking. So we'll do it with photos. How's that?
Sounds good.
No, as once said, a man must rise to the top of the atmosphere and beyond, for only thus will he fully understand the world in which he lives. Socrates said that 399 BC. How forward thinking. And if you look at 1965, you took all of the computers and you put them together, they wouldn't be as powerful as what we have in that room. And think about that. These are not computers, these are monitors, because there's no keypad, there's no mouse. The computers are IBM 360 Model 75 mainframes. Who knows what a mainframe is? Who wants to forget what a mainframe is? $2.2 million. It's equivalent to 8 to 10 photos on your iPhone. That's the memory that they use going to the moon. The wiring from the third floor down to the first floor, because they were on the first floor. You could orbit the moon several times. The very first mission that was flown was Apollo 7 on the Apollo. That was the first manned mission. And this is a crew member, that's Walt Cunningham. He's the very first lunar module pilot on the Apollo program. Our first American to orbit the Earth was who?
John Glenn.
John Glenn, very good. That's John Glenn. John Glenn was the very first American to orbit. He also flew again when he was 77 years old on a space shuttle. I apologize for that photo. It looks like I was calling for another round. And I was. This is Apollo 8. It's the very first time we put 3 astronauts in the Saturn V, Borman, Lovell, and Anders, and sent them on the dark side of the moon. It's a very, very aggressive thing for NASA to do at that time. They were in a race to go to the moon, the Russians. Matter of fact, that was Frank Borman. He was the commander of that mission. remember speaking with him prior to him going on that mission. I think I probably made him a little jittery because I said, well, why don't I get your autograph now? PC was not in play at that time, but I did get his autograph. Can you imagine seeing this for the very first time, never seen by humans?
Yeah.
Or looking out of your window and seeing that for the first time? This is an interesting mission. This is the lunar module in an Earth orbit. That's the Earth. It's not built to fly in the Earth orbit, it's built to fly to go to the moon. It wasn't ready on Apollo 8, so we flew it on Apollo 9. Rusty Schweikert was the lunar module pilot that was flying that. Again, a very aggressive thing to do. I'll share this photo with you. I tell people I can get a lot of money for these photos because they would pay me to keep these off the market. Look how cool astronauts look. With the long hair and probably a white belt, mustache. That was a cool look, especially the mustache. I mean, you look at that guy with the black mustache. I don't know who dressed me that morning, but it's a cool look at that time.
Some people say porn star at that.
I don't know about that. I want to share some stories with you that Alexa, Siri, and Google doesn't know. And I'll tell you about Apollo 10. Apollo 10 was prior to Apollo 11. If Apollo 10 didn't get it right, it wasn't going to be an Apollo 11 in the format we know it. Tom Stafford in the middle is the commander. The person on the right, Gene Cernan, he flew as a commander on Apollo 17, walked on the surface of the moon. He was the last man to walk on the moon. The person on the left is John Young. He flew on Apollo 16, walked on the moon. Tom Stafford never walked on the moon. This is his photo 40 years after he flew that mission. He's a 3-star general. He has 5 honorary doctorate degrees. And there probably was nobody more qualified as an NASA crew member than General Tom Stafford. He also is the board member for Omega. Omega is the watch, it's the only watch certified by NASA to go into space even today. But he never walked on the moon. And let me tell you why. Just prior to his mission being launched, the technicians were working on his spacecraft, and they took out an oxidizer tank. Oxidizer tanks are only 3 feet high and they're paper thin, and they dropped it. 2 inches, 5 centimeters. It's not a big deal. They took the tanks out, they had them repaired, they were going to put them back, and General Stafford said, "No way, Jose, I don't want those tanks. I want new tanks." So they took those repaired tanks, they put back in inventory, they took new tanks, they put in Apollo 10, and he launched to go to the moon. We call that 100 hours, 43 minutes, and 23 seconds. That's a pericynthium. That's the closest point to the moon. 8 miles, 14 kilometers, and stop. Because that's what his mission was. Not to walk on the moon, but to pave the way for Neil Armstrong and everybody to follow. And we don't hear or talk about heroes like that. You know, I mean, that takes a lot of discipline. I've interviewed General Stafford 7 times in 6 different cities last year. He's 89 years old. He's right on point. And I did ask him, I said, "Now, General, let me make sure I understand this. You flew 240,000 miles to get here. You're 8 miles off of the deck. Surely you must have looked out the window and said, well, we're here." Or how long is a court-martial or something? But he was disciplined to do that, and I think he's a real hero in a lot of sense of the words. July 20th, 1969, Houston, Tranquility Base here, the Eagle has landed. 600 million people, 1/5 of the world's population. Who in this room heard that? An original. Oh, very good. Very good. This is the crew. Everybody looks so young. I know we have some international travelers with us today, and I know that when you leave your country, there's things your country requires you to do. Well, this is America. And when you leave our country, there's things we require you to do when you come back. They had to fill out a customs form. It says right here, departed from, they put the moon. This is an official document signed by all 3 crew members. Arrived Honolulu. Cargo was moon rocks, moon dust, and samples. Any condition on board that would lead to the spread of disease, they put to be determined. Only in America. And that's the step. We all know about the step. Neil Armstrong was a private man. He really, truly was. I took this picture of Neil 40 years after he flew it. He's the first man to walk on the moon. And this is Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon. And I'll show you this photo, and I bet most of you don't know who this is. Anybody take a guess? Michael Collins. Right. And I'll show that because I told him I would. He says, Dave, I don't wear a hat. I go out walking my dog. Nobody bothers me. Nobody bothers me. He says, they always say the other guy. And I try to remind him, he drove the getaway vehicle. But it's pretty significant. I'll share this with you then. Has anybody seen that picture, the first man? It was about Neil Armstrong that came out. And I'll share this with you. That's Neil Armstrong's wife. And that's in Mission Control. Before we renovated it, it was a $5 million renovation. And she mentioned something to me that I'm so glad she did. She pulled me aside, and I don't know what she did. But she said, David, did you know that Gene Cernan was my classmate? And I didn't know that. Think about it. She married the first man to walk on the moon. And her classmate was Captain Gene Cernan, the last man to walk on the moon. What are those odds? And that's his burial at sea. I will tell you that, I'll share this with you, it's been 40 plus years that it's been suppressed. NASA has what's called flight rules, and they're always in play for every mission. It's already scripted. Fate has ordained that the men that went to the moon, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, will now remain on the moon and rest in peace. These brave men, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, know that there's no hope for their return, but they know that there is hope in mankind for their sacrifice. This is a letter that H.O. Haldeman and William Safire typed up for President Nixon. It was in his top desk drawer. In any event that there was an issue, the families would have gotten a call from the President of the United States. NASA would have come back here to the room that I'm going to take you in a minute. They would have flipped the switch and they would have ceased communications with that crew. Basically just like that. Clergymen would have commended their souls to the deepest of the deep like a burial at sea, and then that letter would have been read that I just read to you guys. That's exactly what would have happened. This is Apollo 12. You guys still with me? Okay, I guess that's this side. I don't know what I'm doing. Did I lose you guys? You guys still with me? Okay. Gosh, this is a tough crowd. I'm okay on this side. I gotta work this side a little. This is Apollo 12, second time going to the moon. Conrad wouldn't have been. 2,000 meters off the pad, it was struck by lightning. 4,400 meters off the pad, it was struck by lightning. It was struck by lightning twice on its way to the moon with 3 astronauts aboard. About ready to be aborted. But there was a person in the room, his name was John Aarons, and he remembered in a simulation that situation happened. And he knew that there was a circuit breaker, and if they could find that circuit breaker, they could retrieve and save that mission. Nobody knew what it was. But Alan Bean knew what it was. He was a rookie. He knew what it was because he was in that simulation. He searched for that circuit breaker. He found it. He depressed it. All of their electrical power, all of their telemetry came back. And that was one of the most accurate missions. I tell you that because John Aarons was 23 years old when he made that call. The average age in mission control was 26. That's who was sending people to the moon. 26, average age, just like it is in here today. I had a vested interest in that mission as well. I worked here at that time in 1960. I signed a document along with other people. Those signatures were on that mission. They took those signatures to the moon, they brought them back, and then they gave them to us. Now think about that. I mentioned to my group, I don't do this every day. I apologize for you guys getting me. But I'm a former board member with Space Center, and so I raise money and I do other things. But when I do this, I like to share stories. And when I talk with kids, they take signatures reproduced from negatives carried to the moon. How antiquated is that? Then I'm thinking, do these kids even know what a negative is? It's the opposite of positive. That's Alan Bean stepping off the ladder. He found that circuit breaker. He deserved to come off. That's Alan Bean presenting me an award, Silver Snoopy Award. We'll talk about that later. That's when I had more black shoe polish in my hair, That's Alan Bean. We both decided to change barbers. And that's my hand inside a lunar module Disky. That's the onboard computer. 74 kilobytes, 4 RAM, it weighs 66 pounds, and it cost $150,000. Every astronaut that walked on the surface of the moon programmed that computer. You put in a verb sequence of numbers, that's how you went to command, and a noun sequence of numbers, that's how you went to data. That's the computer. I tell people that it reminds me of life before the computer, as I remember it. That's when memory was something you lost with age. An application was for employment, a program was a TV show, a cursor used profanity. Keyboard was a piano, a web was a spider's home, a virus was the flu, CD was a bank account, hard drive was a long trip on the road, and the mouse's pad was where the mouse actually lived. I don't know what happened to us, but technology has changed. How many people saw Apollo 13? Raise your hand. Or the movie. Did you see Apollo 13 movie? Okay, well you didn't? Okay, well you have two options. One, you can say, okay, I think I'm gonna get this guy's movie and watch it, or you can wait for us outside. It's important. 199,000 miles away from Earth, 55 minutes and 23 seconds. Boom. They had an explosion in their oxidizer tank. Where do you think Apollo 13 got their oxidizer tank from? Come on, class. Apollo 10. Remember when General Stafford said, no way, Jose? They put those tanks back on the shelf, and Jim Lovell on Apollo 13 signed off on those tanks. Just think if that was General Stafford 8 miles over the moon. This is the 40th anniversary of Apollo 13. Jack Schweiker's deceased, but that's the commander, and Jim Lovell and Fred Hayes, 40 years after they flew it. I can't believe it's been that long. This is the 45th anniversary of Apollo 13. It's Jim Lovell, the commander, and of course Gene Cernan. And this one, someone asked me about the 747 and the Enterprise. And Fred Hayes took up to the 747 that we have over at Space Center. He was sitting in the cockpit and he was just mesmerized. And I'm thinking, why are you so? And he says, Dave, he had an opportunity to fly that 747. But more importantly, he flew the very first space shuttle, Enterprise, off of the back of it. So he was really zoned. It was totally zoned. And then, of course, the person that failure is not an option, all of that history, a lot of that was said right in this room, some of the things that with Gene Kranz. This is Apollo 10 crew. Look how happy they are. They got new tanks, remember? This is Apollo 10 when they found out Apollo 13 used their tanks. And this is before Photoshop. This is before Photoshop. Now, does everyone have a car here? Good working car? Because if you don't, I know where 3 of them are. And the keys are in them. All you need is a battery. So, obviously on Apollo 15, 16, and 17, they sent the lunar rover. And it folds up like a transformer. I have 5 grandchildren, and they have those transformer toys, or did. They're older now. You know, you can't get them back, you just give them back. But they fold up.
But are they Autobots or Decepticons?
And you get in it and you drive it away. It's pretty, pretty cool. I'll share this one photo with you because I like this as a personal, massive personal photo. It's Gene Cernan holding a fender in his hand. You have to look at this expression on their face. And the guy with the smirk on his face looks like the Allstate insurance adjuster. Because Cernan's trying to explain to him how he had a car accident on the moon. And he's holding the fender in his hand. And the guy's thinking, wait. There's only 2 other vehicles in their park. And there's nobody else driving. I'm not paying for your $5 million ride because you tore the fender off. So, actually, he was on the surface of the moon with a tool in his spacesuit. He jumped up and he tore the fender off of his lunar rover, rendering it helpless. Because the dust would kick up and they couldn't ride it. So he said, I'll get my toolkit. And quite frankly, that's how it was repaired, with duct tape. I think personally, the person that thought about bringing duct tape should have properly been acknowledged. I really do. And then I tell people that if you cannot repair it with duct tape, you didn't use enough. Because it really does the job. It really does. I've seen a Saturn V light. I can tell you it's one of the most glorious things that you could ever possibly see. It's the most powerful rocket in the world. That's Apollo 17, the only night launch. And that's this photo, the crew member that took this photo and gave it to me. I remember when he did, he had a little twinkle in his eye, and he said, this is us, there's nobody else. And if we can't get along, where else are we going to live? So profound to me. And this is the very last man to walk on the surface of the moon so far. It's Captain Gene Cernan, December 72. Over 35 plus years, he always was a hugger. I don't think I've ever had a photo without him, without his arm around you. He was just a hugger. This is the very last photo I ever took with him, was that photo. Thank you guys for letting me share those stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ta-da! So that was the introduction that he gave us before he took us into the mission control room for Apollo 11. I really hope that you guys enjoyed that because it was a lot of fun for me. And I'm going to try to get the video going for the Apollo 11. So, Savannah, I hope you're still listening. My child has been helping me out here. So I'm going to attempt to get the other video loaded here. Give me just a moment.
We're waiting on the next room. We're going to go into the Apollo room. And we have a couple of minutes, so I'll talk to you about some of the Apollo missions or some of the things that went on during that time. And the best way I thought to do that.
Welcome to the International Space Station Mission Control Room. We call it the ISS for short, and that's probably what I will do too. And everybody that you're looking at in front of you have a part of this space station that they're responsible for.
Yikes. Yeah, that was the video for the ISS mission control. Let me go ahead and try to load the one for Apollo 11.
Welcome to the International Space Station Mission Control Room. We call it the ISS for short, and that's probably what I will do too. And everybody that you're looking at in front of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gene Kranz. I would like to welcome you to the historic Mission Operations Control Room. I served as the flight director during the descent and landing of the first American astronauts on the moon. In 2019, this room, from the consoles with related flight documents and artifacts to the carpet, wallpaper, and mission medallions, was restored and preserved to the Apollo era. Even the viewing room seats you are sitting in are original, as are the telephone and communications booths and the simulation control room. The large screens at the front of the room display trajectory data, which we use to control the spacecraft. The clocks above the screens helped us to keep track of mission milestones, including how long the rocket engine fired and loss of radio signal times as the spacecraft moved behind the moon. And the two viewing room televisions to your upper left and right displayed historical network news coverage as it was broadcast. You're about to be transported back to the afternoon of July 20th, 1969, as Apollo 11 astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin descended to the lunar surface. 4 teams of flight controllers worked around the clock in support of the mission, monitoring every aspect of the spacecraft life support, fuel levels, altitude, and communications. On that day, my team was responsible for guiding Lunar Module Eagle to a safe landing on the moon. You will hear our voices and the voices of the astronauts as we encountered a series of unexpected computer alarms. This is the Apollo 11 descent, just as we experienced it.
Filters go. Copy, filter go.
Altitude 5,200 feet. Okay, all flight controllers, go for landing. Retro. Go. Vital. Go. Guidance. Go. Control. Go. Telcom. Go. GNC. Go. Econ. Go. Surgeon. Go. Capcom, we're go for landing.
Eagle Houston, you're go for landing, over. Copy, filter go. I got it there, go for landing. 3,000 feet. Tracking arm. Bravo 1. Roger,
Same time, we're go.
We're go. Same time, we're go.
Flight fighter right on, real good.
2,000 feet. Into the egg, 47 degrees. Roger. I'll take you in 47 degrees.
How's our margin looking, Bob? It looks okay. We've got 4.5. Roger.
Eagle looking great, you're go.
350. Up to the big eggs, looks good. Roger.
Select final things eggs. Roger.
1,400 feet, still looking very good.
You have it. We have another 1202 alarm. Roger, this way. Roger, 1202, we copy it.
How you doing, Control? We look good, you're fine. All right, how about you, Telcom? Go. Guidance, you happy?
Go.
Vital. Go.
We have another 1202 alarm. 21 down, 33 degrees. 100 feet down at 19. 540 feet down at 30, and at 15.
Okay, asshole.
I think we better be quiet.
Raj. Okay, the only call-outs from now on will be fuel.
150 feet down at 4. 30, 50 down. Tank gun for normal operating. 200 feet down, 3.5. 47 forward. Put up.
Happy paddle up there. 50 down at 2.5. 19 forward.
Okay, Bob, I'll be standing by for your call out shortly.
10.5 down. 220 feet. 15 forward. 11 forward, come down nicely, 200 feet. 4.5 down. 5.5 down. Filters go, 5. Copy. Roger that. 160, 6.5 down. 5.5 down. 9 forward.
Low level? Low level.
120 feet. 100 feet, 3.5 down, 9 forward. 5%. 185. Filters go, 5. Copy. 75 feet. Guys looking good, down a half.
60, Raj.
6 forward.
60 seconds.
60 seconds. Filters go, 5. Lights on. 6. Down 2.5. Forward. Forward. Hard jump, Good. 40 feet down, 2.5. Pick up some dust. 30 feet, 2.5 down. Big shadow.
Stand
4
by for
forward.
30.
4 forward, drift into the right low.
30. 30 seconds.
30 seconds forward. Good. Okay. Right. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. APA at a descent. Touchdown. Phone control both auto, destination command override off. Engine arm off. Fantastic. 413 is in. Do it every day. We copy you down, Eagle. Houston,
T1, stand by for T1.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot. Thank you. You're looking good here. Okay, we're going to be busy for a minute.
Approximately 6 hours after Eagle landed safely on the moon, the flight controllers prepared to receive the first television transmission from Tranquility Base. Along with millions around the world, we watched in suspense as a man from Earth prepared to take the first step on another celestial body.
And we're getting a picture on the TV. It's included, have you had a good picture, huh? The video with contrast in it, and currently it's upside down on our monitor, but we can make out a fair amount of detail. Edward Telcom Delta Ring, first picture. Stand by, we're working on it. Can you confirm that your reverse switch is in the proper position? Okay, we have everything upside down. Stand by, we're 39.5 on the camera. We are in reverse. All right, just a second. The oxygen temperatures are coming down, look good. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. You take a 10-second look. You just stepped on a little pad. Okay. Okay, I just checked. Get back up to that first step. It hasn't collapsed too far, but it's adequate to get back up. Roger, we copy. Pretty good little jump. Buzz, this is Houston, F2, 1/160th second for shadow photography on the sequence camera. Neil's running about 1700 now. Okay. At the foot of the ladder, the lamp footbeds are only depressed in the surface about 1 or 2 inches, although the surface appears to be very, very fine grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder down there. It's very fine.
FOB TV network.
Go ahead, network.
Switch to another station or something.
Right, we're looking at honeysuckle now. It's a little bit cleaner.
Okay.
And step off the lamp now. Your time.
2818.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Upon exiting the lander, the astronauts' positions were constantly tracked by mission control back rooms, and those movements were projected on the large front room display for flight controllers to monitor. Next, you will see, as we did, Armstrong and Aldrin reveal a plaque on the lunar module ladder, which remains on the moon to this day.
For those who haven't read the plaque, we'll read the plaque that's on the front landing gear of this lamp. There's two hemispheres, one showing each of the two hemispheres of Earth. Underneath it says, "Dear men from the planet Earth, first set foot upon the moon, July 1969, AD. It came in peace for all mankind." It has the crew member's signatures and the signature of the President of the United States.
After erecting the American flag on the moon and spending time adapting to the 1/6 gravity, Armstrong and Aldrin received an unexpected communication.
Something rather important is coming up here.
Neil and Buzz, the President of the United States is in his office now and would like to say a few words to you. Over. That would be an honor. Go ahead, Mr. President. This is Houston out.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made from the White House. I just can't tell you how proud we all are of what you have done. For every American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives. And for people all over the world, I am sure that they too join with Americans in recognizing what an immense feat this is. Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world. And as you talk to us from the Sea of Tranquility, it inspires us to redouble our efforts to bring peace and tranquility to Earth. For one priceless moment in the whole history of man, all the people on this earth are truly one. One in their pride in what you have done, and one in our prayers that you will return safely to Earth.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor and privilege for us to be here representing not only the United States, but and of peace of all nations, and with interest and a curiosity and with a vision for the future. Honor for us to be able to participate here today.
And thank you very much, and I look forward, all of us look forward to seeing you on the Hornet on Thursday.
Look forward to that very much, sir.
After 21 and a half hours on the lunar surface, Armstrong and Aldrin rendezvoused with Command Module pilot Michael Collins in lunar orbit, returning to Earth and splashing down safely in the Pacific Ocean 3 days later. Working under the command of Mission Control, a fleet of naval helicopters from the USS Hornet were sent to retrieve the Apollo 11 crew.
This is George H. here on the Blue Fellas. And while the chopper is bringing the crew back to the carrier, I'd like to make a couple of comments. First of all, I think you all know that the events taking place here today represent the culmination of the tremendous Apollo effort initiated by President Kennedy. I think your personal dedication dedication and professionalism displayed here at Mission Control have contributed very substantially to the posture that this country enjoys today in space exploration. As a personal expression of our gratitude for your help, your cooperation and tolerance over the years, General Phillips and Chet Leahy and Tom McMullen and I have left in custody with Flight Director Gene Kranz a small token of our esteem and thanks. Lots of luck, and don't choke on the bubbles.
After 18 days in quarantine here in Houston, the Apollo 11 crew toured the country and the world as America's heroes. Many of my mission control personnel and I flew 6 more lunar missions from this room, which contributed to the designation of this building as a National Historic Landmark. We thank you for visiting today.
All right, let me get there we are. All right, so that was the Apollo 11 control room, and it was really freaking cool, and my eyes are all over the place because my daughter is also here. So I'm gonna, Savannah, I will talk to you in a moment. Okay. She's watching my live stream from her apartment in Florida, and but what I was saying is I got to see the Apollo 11 control room. I also got to see the ISS control room, which I'll probably do on a different live stream. This will give me the opportunity to have some stuff prepared if I can't get outside with the telescope. And speaking of not being able to get outside with the telescope, I was looking at the weather reports for Copper Breaks for next week because I was planning on doing the trip up there. I was going to leave on the morning of the 27th. Do a little practice that night, and then do my live stream on Thanksgiving night, and then leave Friday morning. But according to this, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, rain. So I would not be able to go up there. Well, I could, but why would I want to drive 5 hours to sit in the rain by myself and not be able to do anything? So I am planning my backup plan for Thanksgiving. If it's still raining up at Copper Breaks, then I'm going to park the trailer out at my mom's house. She wants me to stay and help her with her turkey anyways because she likes how I do it. And I'm going to, let's see how the weather's going to be next week at my mom's. Yeah, rain on Thanksgiving too. And the day after, and cloudy the day before. So I will go ahead and I will get some stuff prepared for Thanksgiving. Sometime this week I'll actually have a live stream calibration broadcast. Savannah has agreed to help me calibrate my settings on here so that I'm not spazzing every time I start and trying to get everything set up at the last minute. So I'll have all of my sources all set up beforehand, and hopefully I'll have some really interesting stuff for you guys. I do have all next week off of work, so I can go out to my mom's house in the middle of the week, try to get some footage of the sky, might have an extra pop-up broadcast, who knows. I don't have to work, I can do whatever the heck I want. So until next week, I hope you guys are staying warm, staying dry, and enjoying the sky. Take care.